18 months ago, I was in a serious relationship with my ex-boyfriend, John, and what happened next was devastating. I found out that he had cheated on me with my own sister, Lisa. The scene I found was imprinted in my mind, them in our bed, and her wearing a bracelet with his name on it as she lay with her legs over his shoulders. The impact was so great that soon afterwards, I went through an emotional nightmare. I sank into a deep sadness and came to think that it wouldn't be worth moving on. It was hard to deal with, but little by little, I began to climb out of the hole I was in. However, just as I was starting to recover, my parents came to tell me that Lisa and John were engaged. They told me that despite everything that had happened, I had to attend the wedding, because if I didn't, it would be as if I wasn't part of the family. It was as if I had been betrayed again, now by my own parents. The thought of losing my family terrified me, so I ended up agreeing to go to the wedding, initially just to think more about what to do. At first, I didn't want to go, but as the wedding got closer, my parents and Lisa started to put pressure on me. They tried to convince me that it was the right thing to do, saying that the family should support each other. Regardless of everything that had happened, my mother at one point told me, "Family should always support family." Her words affected me deeply. Lisa also told me that she never wanted to hurt me and that she considered me her best friend. This made me doubt my own feelings. I felt completely lost. The pressure didn't stop there. When I mentioned that I might not go to the wedding, I was told that people would think badly of our family. They made me believe that it would be better for everyone if I were there, which made me accept it, Lisa. Overjoyed, thanked me for supporting her decision, and, in the days that followed, both she and my parents praised my stance, as if it were a great proof of maturity. However, the financial part of the story was what really started to bother me. I was asked to buy an expensive dress, as all the bridesmaids needed to be in the same style, and Lisa had chosen one of the most expensive options in the store, the makeup. Artist wasn't cheap either, as she wanted us all to look the same on the big day. And, as if that wasn't enough, my parents demanded that I pay for the flowers, the decorations, and even part of the cost of the ceremony. I couldn't believe how much they were taking advantage of me. I felt like I was being used, like a source of endless money. The dress was the first absurd expense, but I was told it had to be perfect, that I had to look stunning. Then came the makeup and hair sessions, each of which made my bank balance dwindle even more. The preparations for the wedding became a nightmare. Every time I tried to express my opinions or wishes, it seemed that no one would listen. It was as if my own wishes didn't matter, and everything I did was to satisfy them. The wedding photos, the food, the details, everything was imposed on me, and the blame was placed on me every time I expressed any discomfort. It was as if I were a puppet, with all the strings being pulled by my family, with no regard for my feelings. I remember one particularly difficult day when I was forced to meet with the florist. My parents were obsessed with the flowers, saying that they were one of the most important parts of the wedding, that they had to be perfect. I spent hours discussing colors, arrangements, and delivery logistics. Each decision felt like a direct blow to my chest, a constant reminder of how they were using me. When the florist handed me the final invoice, my heart stopped. It was an absurd amount, and my parents told me that it was my duty, as the bride's sister, to pay it. I also had to go to several dress fittings with Lisa, and each one felt like a test of patience. Lisa insisted on the most expensive options, saying that I needed to look stunning, that it was crucial for the photos. I knew it was more about her image than mine. Every time I tried to express my concern about the costs, I was accused of being selfish, of not wanting to see Lisa happy. The manipulation was constant, and I began to feel that I was losing control of myself. One night, sitting in bed, I did the math on everything I had already spent and realized how much I was being forced to pay for something that wasn't even mine. I decided that I had reached my limit. I would continue with the wedding preparations, but I would make them pay for everything they had put me through. I planned to ruin that day in a big way. It was only 2 weeks before the wedding when Lisa approached me with a request that caught me off guard. She walked into the kitchen while I was having my tea and asked if she could have a chat. We sat down at the table and she told me that she was thinking a lot about the ceremony and wanted me to make a speech. I was calm on the outside, but inside I was grinning like a villain. Feeling that I finally had the perfect opportunity to carry out my plan, I disguised my excitement and made a point of looking thoughtful. I asked her if she was really right, after everything that had happened, and she told me that we were over it and that it was important for our family. I agreed to write the speech, but inside I was jumping for joy. As soon as she left, I felt as if I could run to the top of a mountain of happiness. The opportunity to expose everything was coming. But for now, I had to play the role of understanding. Sister. The night before the wedding, I wrote a letter, detailing everything that had happened. I wrote about how they had manipulated me, how much they had spent on me, and how I had been hurt. Writing was like a catharsis, a moment to release all the anger and feelings of betrayal that I had been carrying around for so long. In the letter, I described how John cheated on me with Lisa, how my parents took sides with them and forced me to go to the wedding. I remembered every expense, every demand, and every moment of emotional pain I was forced to endure. I knew that letter would cause chaos, but I was willing to face the consequences. The next morning, chaos ensued at my parents' house. Florists, suppliers, and family members were running around, trying to make sure everything was perfect. I retreated to the guest room upstairs to keep out of the way. I was settling into the chair when I started to hear voices on the other side of the wall. I recognized John's voice, and next to him, that of the best man. I couldn't help but listen. John began. I've always wanted Lisa from the start. She was the one who caught my eye as soon as I met her. The best man sounded surprised. Really? But you were with her sister. How did that happen? John laughed, but in a strange way that now seemed sinister. I stayed with her sister at first because Lisa wasn't interested in me. I thought that if I got closer to the family, she'd see me differently. There was a pause as the sounds of wedding preparations continued outside. The best man then said, "That sounds pretty bad, man. So you were hoping for a chance with Lisa all along?" John's voice became deeper. I didn't plan for it to happen like this, but when she finally showed an interest, I couldn't resist. It wasn't that I wanted to. My heart was pounding as I listened to John speak. I had been used to get him close. To my sister, pretending that he cared about me. The betrayal seemed even crueler now, knowing that I was just a piece in his game to win Lisa. I walked away silently, not wanting to hear any more or reveal my presence. That conversation was confirmation of everything I needed for my speech the next day. I gathered my strength, went upstairs and downstairs quickly to keep myself occupied. Big day arrived, bringing all the excitement and ostentation that my parents and Lisa had planned. The historic mansion where the wedding took place was decorated with flowers in every color imaginable. Every detail was excessive, and the catering staff moved with rehearsed precision, as if they were in a choreographed dance. I walked among the guests, forcing a smile, trying to look calm, but my heart was still racing. The ceremony went smoothly, and now we were at the reception, a large room with elegantly arranged tables and a huge dance floor. As the party went on, it was time for the speeches. I saw the best man, an old friend of John's, take to the stage. He was charismatic and easily captured the audience's attention. He began his speech with a few jokes about John's past adventures, which got a good laugh from the audience. Then he spoke more seriously about John's loyalty and kindness, saying that he had always been there for him and was happy to see him so happy with Lisa. She praised their love and wished them a life full of joy and success. Applause and shouts of joy filled the room when he finished. John patted him on the back, clearly moved by his friend's words. The atmosphere was welcoming, with the love and admiration of close friends and family in the air. Then it was my turn. The moment I had been waiting for had arrived. Lisa looked at me with a confident smile and motioned for me to come on stage. My parents looked at me approvingly, clearly expecting me to give a speech that would reinforce the family image. I took a deep breath to calm myself as I walked to the stage. I felt a rush of adrenaline. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. I picked up the microphone, looked around the room, and saw the faces of the guests waiting to hear what I was going to say. When I touched the microphone, the sound of the squeak filled the room, making my hand shake as I took out the letter I had prepared. "Hello, everyone," I began. "For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lisa's sister. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Lisa and John on their wedding. It's clear that they have a special connection, and today is a beautiful celebration of their love." A few smiles and nods broke out among the guests, and I could see that Lisa was calming down, believing that everything was fine, that I was just supporting her. But I continued. "However, There's something more to this story that I feel I need to share with you all. You see, the road to this marriage has been full of pain and betrayal, at least for me. The room fell silent immediately. The guests' expressions changed. The smiles disappeared. I saw Lisa's face transform, becoming confused and frightened by what I was about to say. My parents shifted uncomfortably in their seats, clearly surprised by this unexpected turn of events. I took a deep breath and continued, reading the letter I had prepared. My parents, Lisa and John, have done everything to keep this a secret. But the truth is that John and I were together first. He cheated on me with Lisa, and later I learned directly from him that everything he did was to get closer to my sister. Here we are, celebrating a lie, I said, my voice firm and clear. All this partying, all this boasting, is based on deceit and manipulation. I looked directly at the familiar faces watching me incredulously. That table with the flowers, the cake, the catering, everything was paid for by me. Every penny without my consent was taken from me by those who were supposed to support me. The room was absolutely silent. Every word I uttered was a hammer blow, every sentence an open wound that I needed to expose. I continued with the bitter truth that I'd had to swallow for so long. My parents, my sister, even my ex, all manipulated me ruthlessly into paying for all this, while ignoring my feelings and what I really wanted. When I initially said I wouldn't go to the wedding, my parents threatened me, said they would disown me. I looked around, observing the reactions unfolding before me. The tension in the room was palpable, as if the air had become thick. You are celebrating lies and betrayals. All of this is fake. Don't let the glitter of this party blind you to the real story behind it. My words cut through the air like sharp blades. The reaction was immediate. The guests' faces changed from surprise to a mixture of shock and indignation. My parents were clearly trying to keep up appearances. My father stood up, shouting that I was lying, desperately trying to protect the facade they had built up so much. My mother, with tears in her eyes, shook her head, asking the guests to ignore everything I had said. Lisa and John, on the other hand, were completely crushed. I saw the horror on their faces. Expressions of guilt and regret were written all over their faces, but they could no longer hide what they were trying to keep secret. Some guests began to demand answers, while others tried to console Lisa. But the festive atmosphere was shattering. What had once been a place of celebration now became an emotional battleground. An elderly woman, a relative of John's, stood up angrily. She demanded to know why my parents had allowed the whole situation to happen, calling them shameful and saying that the party was nothing more than a humiliating spectacle. Her words seemed to provoke a reaction in the other guests, and soon more people joined her, turning against my parents and Lisa. I knew that the time to stay there had passed. With my head held high, I left the venue. Every step I took me further away from a world that no longer had room for me. Outside, I breathed in the fresh night air, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness for all that had been lost. I knew I was doing the right thing, but at the same time, a weight was pressing down on my chest. When I got home, I didn't hesitate. I blocked my parents and my sister on all social networks, and before turning off my cell phone, I sent them one last message. I wrote that I didn't want any more contact with them. The decision was made. It was the end of a cycle.